We jamming.
Yeah, I come on the air with my face and my mug of tea.
Hey, that's how it's supposed to be done, right? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is April 26, 2023, our EP7. Welcome to Eavesdrop in a Moment. I'm your co-host, Wulwyn Ford, along with
Traci Phillips, your other co-host.
Traci.
Wulwyn, so you've been busy today. You told me off the air that you got a lot accomplished today. What have you been up to? Because it made you sleepy, apparently.
So I got in the 90-degree heat, and went to complete planting an avocado farm. So
not just a tree, an entire farm.
Yeah, so it's been wanting to do that. Started it, and currently have roughly about 250 trees in there, right? So seeds and trees, a mixture of that. So doing that, and we'll go and do some oranges and some soursop. It's a fruit that has a thorny outward shell, not shell, peel, and then in it is white with some black seeds. I don't know if you've had it before, but
I know I have a picture of
you have a picture in your mind,
pear or something like that. Is it
kinda,
like that? Kinda,
yes, and has some excellent medicinal properties, cancer. Even the leaves you can boil it as tea. So going back to the dirt, love doing that. So I'm tired.
So is this your personal farm? Or are you helping other people?
Personal, yes.
Personal farm.
Yes,
okay. So what's the vision there, other than having a lot of avocados and
avocado
plants?
So it's avocados, it's peppers, habanero, some melons, oranges, and the soursop. And then we'll start to do some vegetables, cucumbers, and a couple other things next season, or even this season. The goal is I want to see if I can make some guacamole here, right? Package some guacamole.
The goal, planting like 250 trees to make some guacamole.
Yeah, some guacamole, to truly put it on the market here, because a lot of people, they just do it with the avocado and just put it on the bread. I want to do some tomatoes and some lime or lemons. No, lime, I think, is what you put in there. Yeah, and just process it here, and you never know. You see this Prill 22 farms out there.
Well, all right, Mr. Side Hustle farmer guy.
I'm telling you, so I tell you what I did the last week. So if you plant the avocado from the seeds, you really don't know what you're going to get, right? You are going to get, so your Haas avocados you have, if I put those seeds in the ground, it's not going to produce what you ate. It's going to produce a variation of the avocado. The only way you can do it is if you graft it. If you go and you take the plant, the cuttings of the avocado, and you do a bud graft and you do it. So I asked a guy, an agriculturalist here, and told him, man, can you come over and see what I have to, because I'm trying to do it kind of professional. The guy comes in, he looks at it, yeah, I'll come and bud graft all these trees, when they get up to whatever. I'm like, okay. And I go, what's the cost? Oh, it's going to cost you X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay. Get on YouTube. I look at bud graft. I'm like, you cut the scion and you do this. And I'm like, what? I went, took my knife, did the first one, and I'm looking at it to see if it works. If it works, sayonara, brah. I'll be doing my bud graft in here by myself.
Thanks goodness for YouTube. I know that's the joke around our household too. That is so funny. I love that. It's like something breaks or something needs to be fixed. And my husband's like, hold on, I'm gonna go find it on YouTube. And sure enough,
That's it.
like he has done all sorts of stuff. Just gets his solid degree from YouTube.
Yes, and YouTube. So that's why I'm tired. You see me, but no, we're here.
A bunch of things.
And getting my fingers snipped out, but you came on also. To all of you who are here, I see you here. I see you on. This thing tells us you're looking. We can see you. So please say hi. Please jump in the conversation, because that's what it's about, eavesdropping the moment. So when I said how you were, or how are you, you ran through with, and then, so how are you?
I'm doing well. Yeah, I ran through with where do I get started, and we don't have enough time. We'll talk about this on the air. Yeah, we are again, I think it's becoming almost a statement that just is like we're all tired of even saying, but it's like, it's such a intense time of constant change. Yeah, what else is new? But what I'm really finding, because when I talk about it, it's at the deeper levels, right? And that's
Gotcha.
kind of people who know me know that it's like when I'm talking about intensity, I'm not talking about the world. That's intense enough. I'm talking about the shifts and changes going on within me and within the people I'm talking to. And, the biggest thing now is so many people I'm talking to. Again, remember, for those of you who don't know, I work with visionaries. So, a little bit of a different breed of animal, so to speak. And, a lot of that, but this applies actually to everyone, not just visionaries. It's because we've been so conditioned to be human doings. What do I need to do? Right. So a lot of people are trying to figure out, like this doesn't resonate anymore, but what do I do instead? And how do I do it? And it's the cart before the horse analogy. I had this client today I was talking to, and I explained to her, I said, congratulations, you just arrived at the place that we need to actually dig in first, putting the horse before the cart. But I said the reason why I didn't start, I'm not one of these coaches that's like, all right, here's my program, and you've got to start with A and end with Z. Because to me, what I find is that it doesn't take into consideration people's timing and what they're ready for. And people have to arrive at a readiness before any true change will happen. I mean, we can learn things, we could go to the gym and we could have a trainer, a personal trainer. We could go on a diet with a nutritionist, and we'll have short-term changes, but then we're going to go right back to what we did. Because we haven't changed the core. That has to be a readiness, right? Our readiness is not in our head saying I'm fat and I need to lose weight. Our readiness is not, the world tells me I need this, therefore I need to do that. That's not a readiness. That's a conditioned response or reaction. right? A readiness is a true place of arriving at that moment in time where we're like, okay, now this is X, I'm committed, right? The reason a lot of people struggle with commitment is because they're trying to be committed here, not
Gotcha.
here and here,
Gotcha.
like being ready.
Gotcha.
Right? So this readiness to actually, she said to me, she's like, I'm trying to figure out my next career thing, right? As a visionary entrepreneur, like, where do I plant my seeds? Do I plant avocados? Not only where do I plant them, what do I plant? Like,
Correct.
what do I do?
Yes.
And I just sit there like, okay, we'll go down that path, because what's going to happen is, stuck. I felt so good. And then, you left me with some homework, and then I got stuck.
Yeah.
And then we talked again, and I felt so good because I know I have to figure out what we need to do. What are we going to do next? Clients are like, what are we doing next? What are you going to make me do? What's the homework? What do I need to do? What do I need to do? And they have to run the course where they're trapping themselves in this, doo-doo box. And before they're just like, I'm surrounded by a bunch of doo-doo.
And it's a doo-doo box for real, though.
Doo-doo box, right? We shit all over ourselves in our doo-doo box. Yeah. So nice visual, right?
I know.
So we get to the point where we're like, oh my gosh, I need to just figure out me. And that's what she arrived at. I'm like, fantastic. Now we can start that process. But I said, we haven't lost any time, because all of those things that you were subscribed, we'll get back to that, but from a different angle.
Correct.
You will now be getting back to a true place of having some semblance of awareness of yourself and where your true inner and acquired value resides. So it's like, who am I? And from who I am, what do I do? Not what do I need to do and how do I need to change who I am to do that thing, which is what we've been conditioned to think is the way to go. So, but the allowing part, the transformation, we talked about this last time, going from caterpillar to butterfly, that transformational stage in the cocoon is where literally that caterpillar like disintegrates. It goes away. Its identity of caterpillar goes away for the emergence of the identity of butterfly. And that's what we're all going through right now. So many people are using this language of, fears and emotional stuff. And I feel like I can't take that step, or trepidation, or getting sick, or like actual physical things happening to stop them. And it's these fears. And of course, when we're in the chrysalis, like if we're disintegrating our old conditioned identity of the doer and not the beer who we came to be, is disintegrating to make room for our actual being, that disintegration period is uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I've even experienced, so it always comes back to me. I've been asked so many times in my life, when do you shut your mind off? When does your mind shut off? And I'm like, never. That's not how I'm designed. But I've come to realize that that is my design, but I can experience it differently. It doesn't have to be constantly churning and so much effort, right?
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed in my meditations, I was I guess it was the weekend right after we talked last time. All of this emotion, like fear, and the worst thing is when we have these emotions that we don't know what they're attached to. Like there's no story, there's no narrative. It's just the emotion, right?
Yeah.
All this fear started to emerge, and I'm sitting there, and I started to recognize what my mind was doing. At first, it was trying to make a story about, why am I feeling fearful? Where's this fear coming from? And it couldn't answer those questions. So then it started to just shoot off into other things. I started to think about the laundry I needed to do, or the grocery shopping I needed to do. And I'm like, I am trying to distract myself from this emotion.
Wow.
And then so I had this inner dialogue going between the higher, more evolved me and the person I was trying to distract myself. And it was like, no, but but it's like, what are you doing? Come back to the emotion. But it's scary. I know it's scary, but it's just emotion. You're safe. You're in your bed, you're in a safe place, nothing's happening, the walls aren't crumbling, you're
Yeah.
safe. But it
Wow.
feels uncomfortable. I know it feels uncomfortable, but we just need to sit with it. So this is all this inner dialogue. Meanwhile, the emotion is coming up, and it's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming. And I finally got to the point where my brain knew it was trapped. It had to be there. It couldn't keep going out of the room. And then there was this emergence, this integration of head and heart.
Mm.
And all this, and I had one of those really hard, ugly cries. It was spontaneous, ugly cry. It was just like kind of cry and projectile tears. It was intense, and it maybe lasted for a minute, and then it went away as fast as it emerged. And then I sat there, and again, I'm observing myself this whole time.
Correct.
And it was kind of weird. It was like crazy because I'm like, oh, wow, now, okay. And then I'm like, I don't feel anything. I feel neutral. And I tried to go find the fear and I couldn't find it. Couldn't grab a hold of it anymore. It wasn't there. And so then I just sat there and I'm like, okay. And it was almost like this peaceful nothingness for like 30 seconds where I was just observing kind of what I was noticing. And then all of a sudden, this crystal clarity emerged. And all the information, this is because of there was this coherence between my head and heart that my head was able to translate what my heart was bringing through with the emotion. And suddenly I had this clarity about what it was all about, all of it. And it was so multifaceted. It was stuff from my past. It was stuff from my present. It was stuff, but it was all integrated into this really sound chunk of clarity. And it came to me. I did not need to chase it, figure it out. This is so much effort. This takes so much energy. When our hearts and our gut, when they speak to us, it's like they plop the information in our lap. We don't have to do anything. We just have to sit there and allow it to come forward. Allow. And not protect ourselves from the very thing that is right. It's like, don't shoot the messenger. It's just trying to bring the message. And it was incredible, Wulwyn. I mean, the information that came through was stuff I had been kind of question marking my whole life because I was stepping down on that emotional clarity.
Gotcha.
But so now I'm working on allowing, sitting with my emotions. Of course, 2 days later, my daughter was going through something. I was like, well, let me apply what I just a little bit of information. And she's like, you're right, Mom. I keep trying to reach for other things, my phone or food or friends or, and I'm trying to find outside of me. And I know it. I can feel it intuitively that I'm supposed to just sit with it. But it's like, I'm so uncomfortable that it's, all right, well, so what do you need to be more comfortable so you can sit with it?
Correct. Wow. I could jump off on so many places, bum. But I think the very first one was, human doing, and I caught it as soon as you said it. Human doing versus human being, right? It's you can't operate in that space of doing. You'll burn out. You can't. The space of doing and the space of being. You can perform similar things in those places, and I don't think you burn out in the being state, right? Your conversation about sitting in it and going through the metamorphosis, right? Going through the process of getting it. It sounds to me like when I'm going through a process and the Holy Spirit's telling me to obey. I'm like, nah, I'm not going to obey. I'm not going to obey. And then when I finally obey, then the reason for my obedience is shared with me. And I go, oh, wow, I should have obeyed, right? Long before. But I think what you were talking about the emotions, I had something similar this on Saturday, but it started maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. Year goes. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, I enter a client's office space, and I'm about to climb the stairs. One of the ladies who work in one of the offices turns around to me and says, "You have to sign in." And I go, "Sign in?" I'm like, "Okay." So I turn and I start to go to the security desk to sign in. And the security guy says, "No, you don't have to sign in. You work here." And I go, "Okay, so which one do I do?" Well, and the guy says, "No, you don't have to sign in. Go." So I turn around and I started walking. The lady's ahead of me, and I go, "Why did you tell me this?" She says, "Well, it's a new process. We have uh, people in the building today that we need security, that type of thing." I'm like, "Okay." So I leave. I go upstairs, but I'm feeling something, and I'm going to tell you what I'm feeling. But I park it, and on Saturday, we go to a book signing. And at the book signing event, I go and I ask, I noticed that there are tickets because we got in early and paid, but they didn't have the tickets there at the moment. So I noticed they had these real beautiful tickets there. I'm like, "Oh, souvenir to, for this book signing. I can keep this and put it in the book, right? As I'm reading it and just keep it in there." So I go outside to the lady who's selling the tickets and I go, can you give me a ticket? I've already paid, but you weren't here." And she goes, she turns, she looks at me, she says, "I'm sorry, these tickets have been counted and can't do anything for you." And she turns her face. And as she was talking, I was mid sentence trying to explain something to her, and she just zoned me out, and I went, "Oh my goodness." So I shamefully turned around and sat down. At the end of the event, I went to her and I said, "Well, you really, I felt embarrassed. Were you? Oh, I didn't mean it. I'm so sorry." I'm like, she apologized, and I said, "Okay, cool." So I get home. When I get home, um, I call Verlin, and I'm so happy. It's so good to have a spouse that wouldn't talk to you the way you want to be talked to in a moment, because I was looking for a, a, a hug and a rock, right? And she goes, "Nah, I don't think she was rude to you. She was focused on what she needed to get done, and she was done with you. She had something to do, and you were still standing in her space, and people were coming in." So I go, true. So my embarrassment, my shame, etc., that I felt, you mean to tell me that it was my personal issue? She's like, "I think so, Wulwyn. I think so." Now let's peel the onion. Do you know that I sat for a while and I'm sitting and I'm thinking about it, and then boom, the lights just came on. I've been praying about pride. I've been praying about, God, just give me, remove pride, remove pride, remove pride. And if you're asking to remove pride, do you know that things that affect your pride will always come to you in that season so that you can work on pride? So my pride won when the lady told me to go and sign. I knew I was supposed to be in that building. I work in that building. How dare you come and tell me to go and sign? Oh, no. Don't you know me? One. The second one was the lady who was doing all of that, who was signing people in. she she knows me very well. So how can she dismiss me and not complete the conversation, and she has to go and put me to the side and talk to someone else? And then it hit me. It's your pride. you felt entitled that she had to go through it and give you a whole paragraph on what your needs were and what the options for what you needed. And I said, so it's my pride. And then it graduates. It graduated to, Wulwyn, do you know that in this process of getting rid of your pride, you have to have uh, whatever you're expecting, you have to have something to hold. Now, if I perceive myself, I know what God has told me that I would become. When I do become it, there is a high probability that if I don't take care of the pride now, that it will lead to a fall when I do get what I'm expecting. So the summary of it was, you need to hold this thing that I'm giving you in a bag of humility, because this thing that I'm giving you is huge, but you should hold it in humility, which means whatever I'm expecting, I need to grow. I need to become so humble that when someone speaks to me in whatever way, it doesn't move me. When someone tells me, go there. So do you know the exercise I went through in the meditation? I
Hmm.
went through this exercise. I enter a room where I'm supposed to speak. The person at the door says to me, sir, sit down there for a second. And I go, but I'm the guest speaker in my mind. But the person doesn't know because they haven't shared my picture with the person yet. So he says, sit there, and I sit. And the person who knows who I am comes running saying, has Mr. Porter arrived? And they go, oh, yeah, we're not sure. And the person sees me and says, oh, Mr. Porter, why are you sitting there? I said, well, he told me to sit. Then he starts to reprimand the person. And I go, no, don't. It was a failure on your part to let that person know that I would be coming. So you don't reprimand him to appease me. It's okay. Now, humility, and I went through so many scenarios of it. And then I started to understand what the humble pie that I needed to eat. I started to understand how I needed to grow to a level in order for this avalanche of blessings that I know is coming because of what I'm doing, which is to help people. And if I'm prideful, it's going to hurt people. So my emotions, I went through the process. It started 2, 3 weeks ago. The last one happened on Saturday. On Monday, I get the breakthrough, and I am so happy for going through my turmoil, for going through the shame and the embarrassment and the hurt that I said, I shouldn't speak to me that way. So there it goes.
God, that's beautiful. I mean, again, I kind of am left with what you were left with. It's like, where do I even begin? There's so many places to tap into what you just said, but I think that the whole piece speaks to, and I say this all the time, is that we somehow think that when we spend time digging into ourselves, that it's selfish, it's self-serving, right? And it's egotistical. We're supposed to be spending all of our time and effort serving the world. So if we're taking time on ourselves, that's somehow, it's just we're full of ourselves. But what I tell people is if we're sitting there trying to convince ourselves how great we are and everything, yes. But if we're really doing the work on trying to, again, exactly what you said, exactly what we both have been sharing is being true to ourselves by saying, oh, I am feeling X, or I'm feeling Y, or I had this, being vulnerable to ourselves, right?
Yes.
Because if we can't be vulnerable to ourselves, we certainly are not going to be able to be vulnerable with other people.
Nope.
But in that, we actually discover our truth, our true selves, our true value, our true weaknesses, our true strengths, our true everything, what is true about us. That is where we don't have to humble ourselves. We have to go through that process so we are humbled. right? It is a natural humbling process. It's not like, oh, humble thyself. We wouldn't know
No.
how to do that. That's the same thing as is saying, what is your true superpower? Well, it's like white on rice. It's too close to us. We can't see it. We
Yeah,
can't humble ourselves,
yes.
but we can be humbled.
Mm.
And we others don't humble us. In that moment, she was humbling you, but you didn't get it yet until you allowed yourself to be humbled through yourself, right? Through your own inner process. But when we
Yes.
land on our true value and how we're actually meant to serve, that it has the opposite effect of what we've been taught, which is that once, if you think too highly of yourself, you're prideful.
Mm.
Actually, when we truly know, it is the most humbling experience in the world because
Yes.
we're holding this gem that has been bestowed upon us. We become more reverent, we become more responsible, we become more duty prone
Oh
to
my
that value that was
goodness.
God gifted to us. We become more humbled. And it's not a part of now trying to seek value from outside of ourselves or seek the validation of the value inside from somebody external. So if somebody is short with you, I mean, all she was basically saying was no. And we hate to hear no because somehow it devalues us, or we've given this story that it does. And so we're spending all this time being wounded and hurt and hurt people hurt people. So
Hmm.
wounded people
Hmm.
wound others. And so now we're creating wounds external to ourselves. And then this huge perpetuating process. What we're saying here is taking the bull by the horns, letting the temporary discomfort to be a
Mm.
part of the humbling process.
Mm.
We are starting to discover the true value of emergence. Because
Mm.
emergence
Mm.
isn't something we do to make happen. It's something we're allowing ourselves to be, right? To be accepting, to be vulnerable, to be humbled through the
Mm.
process,
Wow.
right? We find ourselves to be special when we stop worrying so much about being special.
Whew. Wow. Do you know you said something here, and here was the the other aspect, or the other result of spending that time to uncover. It was, the Holy Spirit said, hey dude, the fact that you I need you to understand, someone treating you badly, or someone saying, hey, hear ye, Wulwyn has arrived. Either one of those spectrums means nothing. A praise, or someone
Or a
disgracing,
punishment.
or punishment. Neither one of those should move you from who you are. So what they do here in Liberia, a lot of people call you chief,
Mhm.
boss. It's a buttering up for the next thing, which is, please give me something. It's boss, like you come in, ma'am, chief, chiefess, da da da. And one of the things from this was, don't allow them to call you that, because it erodes your sense of who you are, and it pumps you up into a place where you're not. Even if you're there, it puts you on a pedestal, chief, boss, this. So I went to them and said, moving forward, you either call me Mr. Port, or you call me Wulwyn, or you call me sir. And I'll call you ma'am, I'll call you sir. But no more chief, no more boss man, no more head, no more king, none of those accolades, please. Because I think in the process of knowing the gem that we have to give, there are erosion factors. There are water looking to come in there to erode it, and we have to put our hedges around us to protect the gem that we are, the gem that we have, this special thing that we have to give to the world, so that in your process of coming to me and saying, ah, yay, you are, thou art, I bow down to you, you're going to put me back to that place of pride, of thinking that I'm more than who I am, whereas I'm a servant.
Well, let me tell you something. What else it does? I love that. That's amazing connection. You know, it continues to regenerate the hierarchical system of
Mm.
disempowerment, right? Disempowerment is the perpetrator and the rescuer on top, and the victim is on the bottom. And so when people put you in that rescue mode, boss, king, queen, prince, whatever, what they're basically saying is you are the one responsible for taking care of me. I'm going to put you in that position so that you care for little old victimed me. I don't have to. It keeps them also small. When you accept the higher position, you allow them to accept the lower position. And so they don't learn to do for themselves. We have lived in such a society, worldwide society of hierarchy, where the understanding is only those who have can give. Right.
Mm.
And it's that idea of like, oh, okay, then I need to go to those. That's why, Robin Hood stole from the rich and gave to the poor, because apparently the poor couldn't do for themselves. They needed to take, I mean, granted, the story was that they had been taken from anyway, but let's just take
Correct.
that for a second. Is
Yeah.
this idea of how can we take from who has it because I don't? That's a lack mentality. When we're living in lack mentality, we have nothing but lack. We can't be abundant, creative beings that we were designed to be, because we're placing ourselves in this hierarchical model that allows us. I mean, it's the same as boxes, masculine,
Yeah.
feminine. People are having such problems with, things like the gender changes that are going on right now, because it's like, you can't put them in a box. And even those who they're trying to create all these boxes, which just confuses the whole issue. It's not about boxes. It's actually about the breaking of the boxes. This isn't about whether you're trans or this or that. It's about what the whole thing is about, is trying to get us to look at how confusing it gets when we have to have boxes around everything, when we have to have labels that we place ourselves, that we place on ourselves. We cannot be who we truly are. We cannot be our true nature, our true identity, when we feel like we have to label ourselves with all these things, because we don't fit in boxes. We were not created to be put in a box.
Yeah.
And I said to my daughter, and who's struggling with stuff, I said, the empowerment disempowerment dynamic? And she says, yeah. And I said, the empowerment dynamic is the flip of the disempowered triangle. It's the upside down triangle. We've got the victim. These are the roles that we play when we're in not being humble, when we're in pride, when we're activating by protecting ourselves through ego.
Yes.
There's the victim. The victim needs two things to be the victim. It needs a perpetrator and a rescuer. And it's either a thing or a person that is placed in those roles. As long as I, as a victim, can look out and find who or what is perpetrating me and who or what needs to fix it, then I can remain the victim. And as the victim, I don't need to do anything, because the victim, I can't. I have no power. So I'm going to just relinquish my power and place it everywhere else, so I don't have to take responsibility for my life. I can, if things go well, then I can basically just participate in that and get the fruits of it, but I don't have to take responsibility for it. If things don't go well, I don't have to take responsibility for that either. I just point a finger. I didn't do anything. It wasn't me. It was them.
Yes.
Right? Either way, I get to go through life taking no responsibility. But the problem there is we came here to be responsible, creative beings. So we're unhappy. We're unhappy when we can't take responsibility. We think we want the government to give us money, to pay for our new Nikes, but we really want to work. We were really designed to work for that money because it gives us a sense of fulfillment and purpose and mission and power and all these things. But no, we just want to take that. We don't want to work for it. No. Yes, we do want to work for it. But we've been so entrenched in these dynamics that we've forgotten that. So as I said, different empowerment dynamic is to take that triangle, flip it right side up. Instead of the victim at the bottom, it's the creator at the top. And I don't mean creator capital C. I mean, we are in that same form as God, right? We were created in this form. So we are the small c creator, but we are here to take full responsibility for everything we create through our decisions.
Yes.
So we also can look out into the world, but instead of seeing perpetration and rescue, we see challenge and support. And what I said to her, I said, look, we always have challenge and support in our lives, honey.
mm,
Always. Like
mm.
there are always those things there that are supporting us, those people there that are supporting us, and there's always those things and people who are there challenging us. And like you said, it wasn't about the people and what they said and how they were treating you. It was about your choice of interpreting that.
Yes.
And think about it, both challenge and support, right, can either strengthen or weaken us. Let's
Mm,
look at challenge for a minute. Challenge can, if we choose to see challenge through the ways we've just been talking about, like I'm being challenged, I'm going to go in, and I'm going to figure this thing out. Do
yeah.
you think we came out strengthened? We
Hmm.
absolutely did. We had more clarity.
Hmm.
We had more purpose. We were humbled. We were humbled
Yes.
to the process of discovering what we're truly meant to understand and who we're truly meant to be. That gives us strength.
Yeah.
Now, if we had chosen the other, if we had chosen to be like, oh, they hurt me and my feelings, and it's just like, what? It's happening everywhere, and the world is just mean, and I'm just like, it
Yeah.
weakens us, right? We're not being humbled, right? We're getting more weak, literally. We don't have resilience.
Yes.
We don't have the
Yes.
ability to stand up and be like, you know what? There's a learning in there somewhere. I take full
Mm.
responsibility for the good and the bad. So what can I learn from this? Because if I don't, it's going to come back around and around and around. So
It's gonna come.
let me be humbled now, because at some point I will be humbled. So I might as well like cut to the chase.
Yeah.
If we could take support, support can strengthen and weaken us as well.
Mm.
Support can strengthen us when we utilize that support within our own responsibility. It's not like we rely on that support and say, oh, okay, I don't need to do anything anymore because my support just arrived. That would be resting,
Correct. So
right?
it's Verlin. So in this case, Verlin is my support who told me I'm not going to cuddle you. Hey, that lady had X, Y, and Z to do. So hey, change your perspective. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm
That's
getting
it.
it.
And you didn't fight back. Well, maybe temporarily you might have resisted it, but then you're like, wait, she's actually right. Let me think
Yeah.
about that. And so you chose to be strengthened within that support. Now we can also be weakened through support. That's
Yes.
where, again, the reliancy thing, where the support comes, and then we're just kind of like, okay, you do it then, right? You know that I
Yes.
can arrive to say to my daughter, okay, how can I support you? And she's like, yeah, I need you to fix it for me.
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
That's when we're weakened, because we're basically telling ourselves a story that we can't do it, that we cannot take the responsibility, that we're just going to have the government pay for things for us. We're just going to have our parents take care of us forever. We're just going to have, it's my boss's job, right? Not just to support us by paying us, but they have to make everything like creature
To
comfort.
do it. Correct.
They have to make it psychologically safe for us at all times. They have to make it diversity, inclusion, and equity all times. They have to give me exactly the amount of money I want to make at all times. They have to give me the
Yes.
office space that I want that makes me happy.
Entitlement, huh? The
That is
entitlement.
seeking support from a place of weakening. And the more people actually give them what they want when they're coming from that point, the weaker they get.
I think the rotten you get. Mm.
So
Wow.
if Verlin had come and said, oh, honey, yeah, and given you what you thought you wanted, it would have weakened you in that support.
Oh, big time. Big time. Big
Yeah.
time. So I, this this EP is you know what? Do you know what I'm doing here? Even though I'm here, I am extracting myself and being a student.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing a dual thing here. I'm breaking myself apart. I'm going, okay, think process. So even when you were talking about support, etc., and I'm thinking over it. So in this case, if so in truth, in finding out truth, you have to triangulate it, right? So as you're talking, I'm triangulating your truth that you're saying. So I'm going, the truth is, so she says, turn it upside down, the triangle, right? And support. So, oh, in my story, the support was Verlin. Okay, there you go. That's so I am processing it live, and I'm enjoying it, and I am learning from it. Right? It's where we have to sit and eavesdroppers. This is, if you're replaying, as don't worry about it. That's our sound effects. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, on Wednesdays, we have the cleaning crew in the house. But no, no, the key here, and don't be embarrassed by it. Hey, let's keep talking. um, when we eavesdroppers, the key is when when we're in discomfort because of our feelings, our emotions. It's I want to say it's always your right, your power to find out why am I feeling this way? Because when you find out why you're feeling that way, one, two, three, four, and five, you will be empowered. When you truly find out, when you truly find out to the point, Traci, let me tell you how the humility, getting the big bag of humility for my life, for everything, how it affected me thereafter. When I was driving and someone cut me, when I was driving and someone came to attempted to get in my space, I said to myself, they want to get there. They're trying to get to the place they're trying to get faster. So you know what? I'm gonna allow them to go. I'm not gonna blow my horn. I'm not gonna get in discomfort and go, what are you doing? Coming home just now, coming from the farm, someone I turned off the road because they were redirecting detour. I turned and was going. A guy on a motorbike said, "Look at his ASS," and I heard it because my phone was down, my window was down. And before, if you would have told me that, I would say, "No, you are the ASS, right?" I just looked at him, smiled, and said, that's his thought process. That's what he thinks. But am I a donkey? No, I'm not. I'm not a donkey. My name is Wulwyn. And I went there because the person directed me there. I don't have to fight you for anything. I'm good. So I just kept on. So what it did for me, it has, and I pray to stay in this place. And I think the only way you can stay in it is by revisiting. The more you revisit it and say that I'm not entitled to this. I I'm a gem to the world. I have I'm a servant. I'm a steward. I'm here to give, and I'm even here to give to that person who called me a ASS. And I will serve him, and in the process of serving him, I will teach him so that he doesn't go around telling people ASS, right? So it's eavesdroppers. This program, and I'm gonna plug. I'm gonna put a plug here. This program is not you're not here to be entertained. If you are, great. But it's a class, and I would dare say it's a master class of life, a master class where we things that we're going through and ironing out, and we don't and figuring out. And I said figuring, and I would bring the word that Traci said earlier, being, because that's what we are. We're in the present form, present continuous form. We don't have all the answers, but we are here attempting to say, okay, let me take this piece, stick that piece, and join it. If you're looking for that, please eavesdrop, right? That's what we do.
Yeah, it's our play box, our play sandbox, right? Like we're literally,
Yes.
that's what you do in the sandbox. You're like, oh gosh, this stick could be a great pole for my flag. And like we're just
Wow.
kind of figuring it out as we find things that emerge in our surroundings.
Whew.
And we're like,
Trace.
oh, what can I use this for? Or like if it emerged, then there must be a significance or a value to it. So let me find out where it's going to look best in the sandcastle. It
Yes.
it really is in the moment.
Wow.
And I think that that's what we're trying to show. Like visionaries always say, show the way for others to go the way. and
Yes.
and many times, it's a part of us showing how it's done.
Mm.
We keep thinking we have to plan and prepare and figure it out ahead of time, and that hasn't really served us. I mean, we think it has because all the data, I mean, remember they always say that you can find data to support whatever
Oh
theory
yeah.
you have. So is it really
Oh
is
yeah.
it really sound science? I don't know. Like it's just a bunch of people finding the data points that actually support their theory.
Mhm.
um but when we are meant to actually experience, That's where joy comes from. You know, the playful spirit emerges when we're able to be creative in the moment and we don't know. Like, I mean, one of the reasons why I had a destination wedding and hired a wedding planner, and I told her, she's like, all right, how do you want it to be? I'm like, I can just tell you what colors and what kinds of, I want sunflowers in my wedding bouquet. And these are the colors of the the one bridesmaid, you know, and so these are the colors. And then everything else surprised me. And she's like, what? I was like, surprise me.
Wow.
I want to be like one of the guests that shows up and is surprised.
Correct.
That's the experience I want. I don't want to know everything that could go wrong. I don't want to
Mm.
know what, because again, if I don't know how it was planned to be, I don't know if something went wrong. So I just appreciate whatever I've got. Right. So the expectation thing is really important, is that hold expectation loosely, have a design and a vision for how you'd like it to be, and then let it go and just allow yourself to experience how it can be or how it's meant to be. Because when we hold those expectations, that's where we get disappointed. When they're not showing up the exact way we expected them, but then we're so focused on the fact of what we don't, again, lack mentality, what we don't have or what's not going right, that we don't even notice all of the gems that were being offered that we couldn't even, that we weren't even considering, right, could be a part of our experience. We're going to miss them all because we're so focused on what isn't happening in the way we wanted it. And that's where we keep ourselves limited and small. And we're just not having as much fun. I mean, if everything goes well and perfect, I was saying to a client, is that I used to, you know, memorize presentations and all this, and it was polished and perfect. And I said, you know, honestly, people would finally, you know, you get the standing ovation or whatever, and people would leave the room and you're sitting there by yourself and you're like, okay, now what? Like crickets, like it's not really, it's temporarily fulfilling. That really expensive car that you can't afford, that when the new car smell wears off, you're like, oh my God, I'm drowning in bills, you know, and the car is just like any other car. It just gets me to and from. You know, it's like we think we want all these things this way, and then we arrive there and we're like, this is not really feeling like I really thought it would. Because there's no magic. We're expecting everything. And when it goes well, that also weakens us. That's a support that weakens us. When our lives always go as planned, it weakens us. Because then when something doesn't go as planned, we have no idea how to handle it.
That's it. That's it. So Traci, you know, you brought the part. Those of you who just got in, welcome, and tell us where you are. Come on, we've been, this discussion has been so rich. Go back and replay. I'm telling you, it's been talking about humility, going through the process of discovering your emotions and truly staying in the full change spectrum. You talked as you were speaking. I wrote down when you're speaking, when you're giving a speech, and you memorized it, and when you get to the place or you're reading it and you go and and that's when you say sorry, and then the people who are listening to you go, did you make a mistake there?
Because they didn't
Whereas they didn't know. So when you're speaking, I never say sorry. I go silent for a second, and then I continue, because nobody knows what's here, and don't tell them. And then the other part, even I don't know if this is similar, but I just when people who say I'm crying, I'm in an interview, and my emotions hit me, I go, then I go, I'm sorry. No, you're not sorry. You're not sorry.
Okay.
Cry, go cry, and then So as I was saying, it's life. That's human being. When you're human, you're scripted it. And then I'm like, do check, do check. You're a hamster on that wheel, because it's gonna be a hamster on a wheel, period. Whereas when you're being, and you can allow yourself to go on a tributary and go there and say, oh, there's a detour here. Okay, let me go there. This is what I was supposed to see, right? And life becomes richer.
Yeah, sorry, I keep muting myself because because they're vacuuming right outside my door
Don't
now.
worry,
It's
don't
getting
worry,
really
don't
loud.
worry about it.
But I think that's the key piece, is that when people allow themselves to be seen in their human beingness, whether that is the emotional. I mean, I went back. I was trying to find something last week, and I went back to some of our past EPs,
Uh-huh.
and there was the one, I don't know if you remember it, where you couldn't stop laughing.
Mhm.
And we were both laughing because Jeff said yum, or like there was something like yum, and
Robin,
and it
Red
just
Robin.
yeah. It kept facilitating this like laugh, and then you're like literally like trying to shut down the laughter.
Yes.
You know, this is where, I mean, I don't know if other people find it fun, but if we allow ourselves, like I was even saying to someone, like when you go to a networking meeting and you're so worried about like, oh, but I didn't say it the right way. I'm like, if the person who literally the person you're talking to is responding in a way that they're in their head and they're bothered, they're showing signs that they're bothered, that you're not, that's not your person. Because if you're trying to show up as a connective person with heart open and they're in their head, well, it's not a reflection of you, it's a reflection of a disconnect. You're trying to connect with them from the heart space and being real, and they're trying to connect with you from the head space, which is not a connective point, by the way.
Correct.
I mean, we can cognitively connect, but it's not real connection. That's cognitive, interpretation connection, but it's not connecting as human to human. And that's what it's all about. So just tell yourself, it's like, that's not that we're not, like, our resonant points are not matching. So it's nothing they're doing or I'm doing. It's just almost like in the dating world, like, just not feeling it, let's move on. And we don't need to take it personally. I think serving people goes back to what you just said, is that if we're available, we're not caught in our woundedness, we're not hurt, we're not telling ourselves, stories about what this person did to me and this person, that caused me to feel how I'm feeling.
Correct.
No, our feelings are our feelings. Somebody might have triggered them, but they didn't cause them. They were caused within us. They're ours. We get to take responsibility for that. But there's learning in it always. It reminds me of the story I tell in my book, where when I went to go to that talk, and the woman started screaming at me in the middle of the room, and I had been practicing my intentional what, how, where, what, how, why language, where it was like, okay, what's the value I want to deliver? How do I want to do that? Right? Do I want to be clear, kind, informative? What are those words? And then where do I want this to go? Like, what do I want the outcome of the results to be?
Yeah.
And I had been practicing these words. And so I remember even in my car, like closing my eyes and being like, okay, these are my what words that this is my lane, right? This is what I'm coming to deliver. This is how I want to deliver it. And this is where I'd like to take it. And they were, general words like transformative and, those kinds of things. So then what happened when this woman starts yelling at me, there was total confusion because I didn't know what she was getting upset about. And I found myself internally going in and going through a check, like checking down each of those words. Like, okay, this is what I came for. Am I doing that? Did I do that? Yes. Did I do that? Yes. And I got all the way down my list and I was like, oh, I'm good. This isn't about me.
Yes.
And it's in that moment when we're humbled to our service, it's no longer about me and again, my pride of being attacked or whatever. It's about this person. I realized, how can I be of service? How can I support this woman in what she needs? And if you haven't read my book, I'm not going to tell the rest, because the transformation that happened because I was able to do that, because I was being intentional about those things, that's where we're meant to serve. So when people go, I'm a servant leader, a lot of times they're speaking from the place of conditioned expectation. This is how I'm choosing to serve. Yeah. But how are they really in those moments that go sideways?
That's it.
When their pride gets triggered, or they're showing up in the service, but people don't appreciate it. Then how are they being? Right? It's like those people say, I'm so faithful. I'm faithful to God. And then terrible things happen. Like, God, why have you left me? We all go through it. I'm not judging. It's that same thing of saying, this is not about God. This is not about this is about my interpretation of how well I am humbled to what's really going on here. if I'm really, really well grounded to my what's, how's, where's, why's, when's, who's,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, then it's not about my value and if I'm being valued and if I'm being treated well and any of these things. I get to
Mm.
be the person who determines that, not others. I don't have to be reliant on others to make me feel special. I don't have to be reliant on others to make me know that I need to be humbled. I don't have to. The world is really here to just give me opportunities, but it's all about what I do with them, right?
Yes.
I need to be doing this work for me and with me. When we do, then we're truly serving. It doesn't come from this place of we're on paper where look at all the things I've done. Look at the foundations
Mm-mm.
or the boards I've been on or all the that's hierarchical stuff. That's me being the boss man or the boss lady and saying, "Oh, let me bestow you with all of it because I'm up
Yes.
here and you're down here and let me, no. That
Mm,
no.
mm,
That's not true
mm,
servant leadership. If we have
mm.
I remember somebody saying one time, if you have to say it, you're not it. If you have to call
Yes.
yourself a servant leader, you're probably not one. I'm sorry if I'm offending anybody.
No, you're
Sorry,
not.
that's
No, you're not.
yeah.
So that's a way to say goodbye because you did a wrap up, you did a dessert, a wrap up, and now we're about to say a goodbye. So if you had to say it, you ain't it. But
That's right.
Traci, I tell you, an hour has gone by. Truly, truly appreciated this one. Not saying I haven't appreciated the others, but this one has been such a masterclass where we thought each other, and I'm so grateful to you being here.
Likewise.
Uh, I'm
Likewise.
gonna. I think we'll miss each other in 2 weeks. Uh, Extenuating circumstances, but we'll
Yeah.
be back thereafter. So, eavesdroppers, we love you.
We'll miss you 2 weeks from now on with the
I
10th.
know.
It's the 10th, right? So we will not be live on the air on the 10th. Maybe we'll
Correct.
share one of our favorite past ones. We can
That's true.
repost it. Maybe we can talk about
Yes.
doing that.
Thing
So
that.
that, if you want to come back and watch our chosen highlight past
Yes.
episode, we'll do that for you, but we will not be live in the moment.
Ah, you guys take care. We love you. And replayers, hey, keep replaying. Bye bye.
Bye bye.